it's Teresa from restixin.com, and I'm here to share another spooky Halloween craft with you. Today I'm going to be turning this little shadow box frame into a creepy little wall display. My walls are always the last thing to get decorated. It seems like there's always cute little things to put on counters, but not so much cute stuff to hang up. So I'm making something great to hang up. And I'm going to start with this raw wood frame I found at my craft store, but you can use any kind of a shadow box and it'll be just great. So along with your shadow box frame, what you're going to need is some air dry clay. I really like this Crayola kind because it's cheap and it works great. You'll need some kind of thread that's thick enough to see. So this is a pearl cotton that I like, and this is going to be like telephone wires, okay? So then you'll need a variety of paintbrushes and your paints. I'm going to be painting the outside of the frame black, so I've got that. And then in here, this is going to be a sky, and since I want it creepy, I'm going with a variety of navies and grays down to a very pale icy blue. And to make that effect work, you're going to need some float medium. This is available in the same section as all your other craft paints. Floating medium, or maybe sometimes you can use a blending gel, but this will make it so that we can do a really cool gradation. We'll just call it a gradation. Okay. Oh, and later I'm gonna glitter. I'm gonna make this frame glitter because I never miss a chance for glitter, and so you're gonna want your glitter. Okay. So let's get to painting. Let me get myself a palette here. I made a mess with my palette, but that doesn't matter. So I'm going to start with my darkest color. In this case, it's my blue, and paint a thin line at the top. Well, I guess not that thin, but it won't matter. You'll see. And get in all those corners. And I'm not going to worry if I get on here because I'm going to paint this black as one of my very last steps. So once I get enough of that, then I'm going to stick my brush in this floating medium and go to my next darkest color, which is this smoky gray color. And this will start to blend the colors together. Get a little more of that floating medium. Now some of the plain gray again. So you can see how easily that graded effect starts to take place. So I'm going to continue just like this with my next two colors, a lighter gray and then a very pale icy blue, until I get this to subtly go down. I think I've painted too much of this too dark, so I'm probably going to go back and make more of this the darker, or the lighter gray. So I'm just going to play with my paints and my blending medium to get that nice graded effect, ending with that icy blue color. Doesn't this look cool? It's all the work of that floating medium. I am not a good enough painter to achieve this on my own. But that floating medium gives you a little more time while everything's wet that you can blend it, and it makes everything blend really nicely. If you run into any troubles, you can always take a dry paintbrush and just run it from top to bottom, and that I find gives it that really great finished kind of feathery effect. So now that we've got this done, I'm going to let this dry thoroughly. It's going to take a little bit longer than normal because of that floating medium. And once that's done, I'm going to paint the whole rest of the frame a dark black, including the inside edges. But I think you guys can figure that part out, so I'm not going to do that on camera, but that's the next step for the frame. So while that's drying, we can make the birds that are going to be inside of our spooky picture frame. So that's where we get this air dry clay. And don't worry if you're not a sculptor, because birds are just about the simplest possible thing. I've got a bunch I made the other day here, And all you have to do is take just a pinch of this clay. If you have any problems working with it, you can get your fingers a little bit wet. This is water soluble. So I'm just gonna pinch this to condition the clay and work it until it's soft. And then I'm gonna roll it up into a little bit of a ball. And then, so from my ball place, I take a little pinch to make the head part, and then I push my finger into it to make the tail part. And you can see just pinch and a push, and I'm already on the way to a little bird shape, you see? And so now it's just gonna be some fine tuning. I'm gonna squeeze that part in a little bit, push that little butt up a little bit. Like so, right? Anybody can do that. Just a little pinch for the beak and a push for the back, and you've got your little bird. So let this dry overnight. And like I said, I've got a bunch here. And your fingerprints will be on them. So what I like to do is just take a little sandpaper, or with something this small, you can even just take your finger, because like I said, it's water soluble. So just a little bit of spit, and whoops. And you can work out any little bumps, little ridges that you don't like. Okay, so then once you've got your birds, you can paint them if you want to. I'm gonna experiment with leaving them, well, let's take a look. So I think that if I left them white, they'd stand out really nicely against the sky, but I don't think they'd be very spooky. So I think I am gonna paint them black, and then they'll be sitting on my black telephone wire. So I'm gonna play around with that while I wait for this to dry, and then paint my frame black. And so I will see you when this is all dry. I think this is looking so cool. I know I said I was gonna glitter it, but I'm kind of thinking the flat black is the way to go now. I'm thinking this is looking really grown up and, you know, very Edgar Allan Poe, and I don't think Poe would do glitter. So I'm gonna leave it, which means now all I have to do is the birds on the wire. So my birds, I painted black. And while I was experimenting, I discovered that the black thread I was planning on using was not going to cut it. It was nowhere near strong enough and disappeared with the birds. So instead I've got this silver wire, and I cut this to just longer than the frame. And now I'm gonna drill some holes to install that. Okay, I've drilled 2 tiny little holes on each side. And so now I'm going to put a little glue. Whatever glue you use, just make sure it dries clear. And then take your pieces of wire and thread it into those holes you just drilled. Okay. So now I've got those wires where I want them, and the last step is to get the birds in their places. So now I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue, put it right on the little bird butt, and stick it to my wire. The glue's still drying on my wires, but I've got all the birds in place. What do you think? Is it eerie? Would Hitchcock approve? I think that birds are kind of freaky, so I love it. I think it's perfect for Halloween. And yeah, it's simple and subtle, but I dig it. So I hope you guys like it too, and you'll give it a try. I hope you learned something with that floating medium. That's a pretty cool trick, right? And we'll see you guys next time. Be sure and subscribe to the channel, and have a happy Halloween. Bye.